Okay, so what are the ingredients for a hit song? A waltz-like rhythm, a harpsichord as the lead instrument, a subject and a song title that refer to heroine. Throw all of that into a blender and what do you get? One of the most unlikely hit songs of the early 1980s, Golden Brown by the Stranglers, is a highly atypical, almost baroque pop song. On paper, it seems completely doomed to fail. And yet it is an utterly magnificent piece of music. So let's take the song apart and try to unravel the mystery behind Golden Brown. Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of We're Only in It for the Music, a YouTube series that takes you through the musical universe, from ABBA to Zappa and everything in between and beyond. Click the like and subscribe buttons, and hit the notification bell so you'll never miss an episode. But enough of that, never mind the bollocks. We're only in it for the music. Songs that, on paper, have absolutely no hit potential. Songs that break every rule a standard pop hit is supposed to follow, yet somehow go on to become worldwide, timeless classics. Those are the songs that fascinate me most. With many hits, it's easy to understand why they succeeded. The formula was applied correctly. Everything is where it's supposed to be. But every now and then, a song comes along that does the opposite. A song that refuses to conform and still manages to reach a massive audience and completely mesmerize its listeners. In mysterious ways, we explore how that can happen. So let's get started. Because this 1982 single by the Stranglers is a truly extraordinary piece of music, a pop hit against all odds. The Stranglers had already spent years fighting their way forward before Golden Brown was released in the early 1980s. For most people, No More Heroes from 1977 is the other obvious hit that comes to mind when thinking of this English new wave band. But even that track was already the fourth single they had pushed out on United Artists Records. From the very start, the Stranglers were never an easy band to deal with. Their history was messy, confrontational, and anything but predictable. And despite their success in 1977, with both the single and the album, one of the band's two managers decided in 1979 that he had seen enough. His verdict was blunt. The band had lost its direction and should quit altogether. Let that sink in for a second. Your own manager, the person paid to fight your corner, telling you that you're done. Most bands would have folded right there. The Stranglers didn't. They cut ties with that management, walked away, and kept moving forward. New music. A new deal. Liberty Records. Later that same year came The Raven, more melodic, more complex, and clearly signaling a shift away from their earlier work. The album never even made it to the United States, as it wasn't released in America, but in the UK and across Europe it was well received. And that mattered, because off the back of that momentum, the Stranglers forced the one thing the industry hates giving away: total creative control. The concept album, The Gospel, according to the Men in Black, didn't exactly win over the critics. In fact, it was largely dismissed. But creatively, it marked a clear step forward for the band. The record may not have sold particularly well, but the band themselves stood firmly behind it. And that matters, because it likely gave them the confidence to keep pushing forward, uncompromisingly, and without any intention of playing it safe. That mindset led directly to La Folie, another concept album. This time centered around one simple yet dangerous theme: love. Hardly an obvious subject for a sharp-edged new wave band like the Stranglers. But then again, doing the obvious had never interested them. If anything, it was exactly the kind of left turn you'd expect from a band that consistently refused to obey the rules of the music industry. Commercially, however, once again, the signs weren't encouraging. La Folie entered the album charts lower than any of their previous releases. And its lead single, Let Me Introduce You to the Family, failed to make any real impact, stalling at number 42. Not exactly the start you hope for, but still, there was a glimmer of hope on the horizon. Because at the end of that rainbow, the Stranglers would eventually find their pot of gold, or rather, brown gold. After the commercial disappointment of both the album and its first single, the record label had absolutely no appetite for releasing Golden Brown. And from their perspective, you can almost see why. A song in a triple-meter waltz rhythm, with a harpsichord as the lead instrument. This was about as far removed from a safe pop single as you could possibly get. By this point, EMI, the parent company of Liberty Records, had taken over the Stranglers from their former label, United Artists Records, and they were far from pleased to suddenly have this stubborn, unpredictable band on their roster. EMI didn't want Golden Brown released at all. According to bassist Jean-Jacques Burnel, they actively disliked the band, and Golden Brown in particular. Their verdict was blunt and dismissive. You can't dance to it. And worse still, they felt the band was finished anyway. Eventually, after relentless pressure from the Stranglers themselves, EMI reluctantly agreed to release the single, but only during the Christmas period. A strategic move. Bury it among novelty songs and festive hits. Let it sink without a trace. As Burnell later put it, they thought, it's weak, it's gonna die, it's gonna drown in the tsunami of Christmas shit. But it didn't. It developed legs of its own. It became a worldwide hit. Sometimes karma works quietly, and sometimes karma does its very best work. The single was released in January 1982, 44 years ago, and climbed all the way to number 2 in the UK charts. According to lead vocalist Hugh Cornwell, Golden Brown could very well have reached number 1 if Burnell hadn't revealed that the song was partly about heroin. Once that admission was out in the open, the track was quietly removed from many radio playlists. Cornwell later remarked, JJ should have waited until the song had reached number 1 before admitting that. According to Burnell himself, the song's atypical style, even by the Stranglers' standards, was entirely intentional. The whole thing about that song is it really represented us sticking our fingers up to our detractors. On paper, Golden Brown is an absurd candidate for hit success, and yet from the very first notes, it demands your attention. The music itself was adapted from an unused section of Second Coming, a track that had appeared on their previous album. The music industry, of course, is in the business of making money, and money comes from hits. Once a hit is identified, it is dissected, analyzed, and stripped for parts, its components recycled in the hope of manufacturing the next success. That's precisely why so much chart music, especially over the past 10 or 15 years, ends up sounding exactly the same. It's formula work. Golden Brown refuses that logic entirely. Its sound, its atmosphere, its structure. Everything about the song exists outside the norm. It did so in 1982, and it still does, 44 years later. The rhythm, the lead instrument, the subject of the lyrics, none of it belongs anywhere else. Golden Brown doesn't fit a genre, a moment in time, or any established canon, and that's exactly why it feels timeless. For a hit from 1982, it sounds nothing like the music of that year, or that decade. If anything, it resembles a Baroque waltz dressed in modern clothing, an elegant, unsettling hybrid, paired with an abstract lyric that drifts between heroine and a golden brown woman. From the very first seconds the song grabs hold of you, the melody is irresistible. The off-kilter, waltz-like rhythm immediately sets it apart. It sounds so singular, so self-contained, that it demands your full attention. And after just 2 seconds, it's instantly recognizable. Yet for all its oddness, for all the ways in which it breaks the rules, Golden Brown is undeniably catchy. It's a song you can experience on multiple levels. You can drift away on the hypnotic harpsichord melody. You can lose yourself in the words, trying to untangle what they're really about. Or you can simply take the song as a whole and spend 3 minutes and 26 seconds immersed in pure pop perfection. A song that, in theory, should never have worked, yet in practice captured countless hearts, climbed to number 2 in the charts, and has remained a classic ever since. Golden Brown is such a mysterious song, and it is precisely that mystery that makes it immortal. Had the Stranglers listened to the people at the record label, Golden Brown would never have been released as a single. At best, it might have survived as a deep cut, discovered only by devoted fans as the hidden highlight of La Folie. EMA very nearly deprived us of one of the most beautiful pop singles ever made. Scoring such a massive hit with a song this atypical must have been deeply satisfying for the Stranglers, especially knowing that EMI had tried to sabotage the release from the start. You rarely stand a chance against Christmas singles, and yet Golden Brown did exactly that. For the Stranglers, this wasn't just their biggest hit. It must have felt like the ultimate act of sweet revenge against the people who control and govern the industry. People who understand spreadsheets far better than they understand music. and who consistently underestimate the impact music can have on its audience. Golden Brown proves that this should be left to the stubborn, defiant creatives, the musicians themselves, because they are the ones who produce the real gold. Or in this case, brown gold. And as a lover of pop songs, would you really want to live in a universe where Golden Brown doesn't occasionally get some radio airplay? Golden Brown poses a fundamental question. How can a song that defies every handbook on hitmaking become one of the most beloved singles of its time? The answer is simple. Golden Brown is not a hit despite its deviations. It is a hit because of them. And that was episode 30. That was Mysterious Ways. That was the Stranglers. That was Golden Brown. What do you think of this song? Are you as much of a fan as I am? Let me know in the comments below. I'm always curious to hear your take. You can find the original version, the sped-up version, and the slowed-down version of Golden Brown, along with all the other music featured in this series in the Spotify playlist. And make sure to follow the channel on Facebook and Instagram for updates, because I'll follow you if you follow me. All the links are right below this video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Tell a friend about the channel. Why not? That is much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. And in the meantime, drop the needle, press play, and remember, we're only in it for the music.